Hi everyone, I'm Paige and welcome to my sewing corner. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to insert an invisible zipper with both pattern matching and seam matching. This tutorial is very detailed and I'll take you step by step to achieve a perfect invisible zipper every time. And then at the end of the video after the tutorial, I'm going to be showing you a couple real life applications of when you would do this and what they look like. But let's go into the tutorial first. So you'll need your 4 pieces of fabric. Here I have a plain fabric and a patterned fabric, an invisible zipper, matching thread, but in this case I'll be using contrasting thread, and then an invisible zipper foot. You can use a piping foot or a regular zipper foot, but the best one is an invisible zipper foot. Now I'll lay out my fabrics. Here where I'm going to match the pattern, I put the matching point 5/8 of an inch inward from where I cut the fabric. So once they're stitched together, the seam is going to match. But first I'm going to be stitching these pieces onto the lower piece, sort of as if you're sewing the waistline on a dress. I'll stitch them at my seam allowance and sew them back to back so that I'm stitching on the same spot. You can flip them open and make sure that they match, and then press that seam open. So once they've been pressed open, you can align that center back seam, starting at the horizontal seam, and I pin on both sides of it and then match my pattern. I use a lot of pins when I'm matching patterns just to hold everything in place. And here I'm going to be marking where I want my zipper to stop. So then I'll just pin on the bottom to prepare for sewing. Now from the top I'm going to be stitching with a basting stitch until I get to that marking. I'll back tack and then stitch with a normal stitch length down from there. Just sew nice and steady down to that point where you back tack and then switch to a normal stitch. And now you make sure everything is aligned, and then press the seam open. Everything should look perfect at this point. And now we are going to prepare our zipper for putting that in. The first thing you're going to have to do is iron it. Now the teeth are kind of folded backward. You can see right here there is a fold and a crease. What we need to do is take the iron and flatten that. So we're just going to press it to sort of open up that fold and get rid of that crease. This will make it easier to stitch close to the zipper teeth. The way that you know that you did this correctly is instead of the zipper being flat when you zip it up, the tapes kind of pull together in the center and come up and touch. Just like that. So now we're going to mark. If you wanted your zipper to stop at a certain point, now's the time to mark that at the correct seam allowance if you're doing around the neckline or something like that. So we'll just put the top of the zipper right at your marking. And then we're going to align the zipper and the seam. So the center of the zipper and the center of that seam need to be perfectly matched up. And you'll just pin it all the way down to the bottom of where you want the zipper to be. So here I'm going to have some contrasting thread and a nice sharp hand sewing needle. You can use silk thread if you want it to be able to pull out easier. Any thread will do though. So at the top of the zipper, going through the zipper tape and the seam allowance, we're going to stitch just like that. You can do a little back tack and then baste down from there. Now make sure that you're only going through the seam allowance and the zipper tape. And just baste all the way down to the bottom, and then sew a little tack, and then start on the other side. Baste along that edge and do a tack at the top of this, just like that. Now you can take out your pins. Everything is securely held in place at this point. Now you're going to remove all of the basting stitches from above that tack. Just simply pull them out. They have completely served their purpose. Now when you pull apart at that seam, you can see the zipper, but it is fully attached to the seam allowance. And we're going to get our zipper pull out of the way. So you're just going to feed it into that little channel right there, and you can use a tweezer or something, but I just grab it through the fabric and pull it down along the zipper. It's not too far to pull, you just pull it. Now the zipper pull is out of the way and you can see everything is easily accessible. Now I will put my invisible zipper foot onto my machine and get everything ready to begin sewing. This foot makes it so easy to sew a zipper. So you'll just align the zipper teeth into the correct channel to where the needle goes on the right side where it sews next to the zipper. And you just follow it down to right below that tack, the sewing tack that you did. Just follow it down and go slightly below. You can see here I went slightly below that zipper opening and the zipper is totally sewn on there. So now you can pull the zipper pull all the way up and admire your work. So the zipper should not be able to be seen unless you really pull at that seam. And everything should be nicely aligned. And at the bottom, if I tuck these threads to the back side, you won't see where the end or the beginning is. Now you can remove all of your basting stitches that you did by hand just to clean up your work. And just clean up all of the little threads. You don't want them to get caught in your zipper. And you see here that I have a very long zipper and I'm going to shorten it. So one way to shorten it, this is kind of the quick and messy way. You can just take a couple stitches in place to create a little bar tack at the bottom. It's quick, it's efficient, it's not very pretty, but it allows you to cut off that long zipper tail. And it's finished. Alternatively, instead of doing the quick way, you can do it the longer way, which is by doing a Hong Kong seam finish. So I did that first along the edge of the bottom of the zipper, and then along both of the sides of the seam allowance. And that encases the edge of the zipper tape and the raw edge of the seam allowance all in one. And it looks really nice. Down below in the description, you can find a tutorial on how to do this. All right, so now that this is done, I'm going to show you the real life examples. The first example is this dress that I made for my daughter. I didn't want to do the pattern matching, but I needed to match this seam, especially because there's a bright contrast piping, and if that was uneven, it would stand out and it would be kind of like a glaring flaw. So I took the time to just match up this point, and again, I didn't need to do the pattern matching just because it's a kind of scattered print, and it was fine with me to have little bits of unmatching. The bottom of the zipper on this one falls right there, so that's one application. The second application is with this half circle skirt. And you may have seen this tutorial. I'll also link it down below if you want to see how to make a half circle skirt. And I put in an invisible zipper right here. So for this, I matched only on the horizontal axis and not the vertical, because if I had matched this and brought, these lines together, it would have made the skirt smaller and therefore not my size. So it was just important to me to match on the horizontal. The final example is with the couture dress that I did, and I have that series, and I'll link that down below too. So this one I wanted to match as much as I possibly could. So for the back of the dress, I did pattern matching on both of these panels to just be continuous. And I didn't match along this seam just because of the placement of the fabric, but I also matched down here on the skirt. But I did need this seam to align perfectly even, and it has been. So you can match as much or as little as you want to, but this technique gives you the skills to match different points to achieve your goal within your project. And I hope it's very helpful to you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up down below. I really appreciate it, and it helps out the video. You can let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. And if you haven't already, you can click subscribe and the little bell alert to be notified anytime that I post a video. Until next time, go get creative and make something that you love with a zipper. Now you're not going to be afraid of a zipper because you know how to do it perfectly every time. Bye!